human. Play, Damjat, human.
Hello my lovelies, I hope you're ready for another Pirate Scum Gaming build, because today we've got my Disruptor Beam Overload build featuring the T6 Kelvin Timeline D7. The Kelvin D7 is a versatile platform for cannons, beams, or even torpedoes. With its fantastic seating and incredible maneuverability, you can position this ship's deadly array very easily. It's why this is my second favorite ship in the game next to the Section 31 Heavy Command Battlecruiser. Alright, so if you scroll down into the description of this video, you'll notice that I've segmented the information into quick links. So if you'd prefer to skip ahead to another chapter, feel free. I won't mind. I won't even be offended. Alright, for those looking for a quick rundown of what's on this ship, let me quickly go through that, and then I'll do a deep dive into the skills, stations, traits, and other parts of this build. So very quickly, we have the Terran Task Force Dual Heavy Cannons, Discovery Legends Wide Angle Disruptor Beam Bank, Spiral Wave Disruptors, Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo, Disruptor Omnidirectional Beam Array, Kinetic Cutting Beam, Solid Town Wave Impeller, which is your experimental weapon. Also featuring the Elite Fleet Colony Intervention Protomatter Deflector. Talk about a mouthful, good lord. Prevailing Innervated Impulse Engine, Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core, Tilly's Review Pending Modified Shield, Lorca's Custom Fire Controls, also known as the Lorcator, Bioneural Infusion Circuits, the Assimilated Module, Dynamic Power Redistributor Module, also known as the DPRM, Domino, Temporal Trajectory Shifter, your Point Defense Bombardment Warhead, Tactical Vulnerability Locators, my tongue stops working. Got 4 of those in the Disruptor flavor. A Tactical Vulnerability Exploiter, also in a Disruptor flavor. Alright, so let's get into a deeper dive of this build. Now, for those of you sticking around, I'm going to be discussing right now why I chose to utilize these weapons in consoles, and I'm also going to show you how and why they interact with each other so well. So let's get into it. Alright. First and foremost, we have our Terran Task Force Disruptor Dual Heavy Cannons. This is obviously from the Terran rep. Now, the reason I'm using this is its inherent 200% execute on targets lower than 25% health. So let me show you that. Here we are. Damage dealt increases as target's hull decreases, up to 200% damage at 25% hull. And when this thing hits, it's going to hit like a sledgehammer. Next up, you have your Disruptor Wide Angle Dual Heavy Beam Bank. This is from the Discovery Legends rep. This also comes in a phaser flavor, so I highly recommend you getting both. That way, if you have phaser damage in Space Endeavor, one quick switch, and you're off to the races. So let's get a deeper dive into this weapon. This is going to be your, if you're parsing, this is going to be your single biggest hit, also known as your max 1 hit. This weapon is also part of, but that's just the beginning 3-piece, along with the War Discretion 2-piece. Along with the Lorca's Custom Fire Controls, also known, like I said, the Lorcator, and the Dark Matter Quantum. I'll be getting into both of those very shortly. So let's take a look at these set bonuses. First up is War Discretion. This is the 2-piece. You get 1% crit severity buff for 20 seconds on crit. This stacks up to 25%. So this is quite significant. Then there's, but that's just the beginning set bonus. For this set bonus, automatically launch 1 Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo at enemies below 50% health. You're going to see me popping out purple Dark Matter Quantums all over the place, seeking out those enemies that are at 50% health or lower. Next up, I have a couple of spiral wave disruptors. These are the second most powerful disruptor beam weapons in the game. These have built-in damage mods. These things hit like a truck. If you're going to run disruptors, I highly recommend you getting yourself some of these. However, the only way you can get them is either you get a T5 Gaylor, a T6 Keldon, or if you get the Gemidar Vanguard pack from the C-Store, that will give you the T5 Gaylor, which then will unlock these awesome beam arrays. Or dual beam banks in this case. Next up is your Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo Launcher. This thing is a must-have for any beam, cannon, or even torpedo boat. This puts a dot on the target known as Dark Matter Dissolution. It's physical damage every 1 second for 20 seconds. Critical strikes, add 2 stacks of this instead. You'll know this is going. You know you got this going for you. When you see the enemy die, it's going to dissolve into a purple poof cloud. Pretty cool to watch and very deadly. Highly recommend you run this torpedo. Next up is the Elite Fleet Intervention Protomatter Deflector. I think I need to take a break after saying that. The reason we use this particular deflector is because of its inherent crit severity and crit chance. Highly recommend you get this for your end game build. This is not very expensive, and it's from your Durnur Fleet Colony. Next up, Prevailing Innervated Impulse Engines. This can be purchased from the Competitive Reputation. This is the tactical variant. There is an engineering variant and a science variant, but they're not that good. This one is the most highly sought after because not only its flight speed, tremendous flight speed boost, tremendous flight turn rate boost, and its 10% increased recharge speed on tactical bridge officer abilities. Now what procs this is the use of tactical bridge officer abilities like Scatter Volley, Beam Overload, Fire at Will, Torpedo Spread, Torpedo High Yield. Even the mine launchers, the mine launcher patterns will set this off. So that is why everybody uses this impulse engine. This is one of the most sought after ones. Like I said, get this impulse engine. It takes a little getting used to. I'm going to warn you because you're going to hit beam overload and you're going to go take off across the map. So this takes a little getting used to, but it's well worth it. Next up, the Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core. This is a warp core my friend and fellow content creator Stu1701 got me using. You get this from the Fleet Spire. Reason we're using this is not only the power transfer rate buff, 66%, but also the weapon power cost. The less power you use on your weapons, the more power you have. That makes sense, I guess. Now, basically, you want your weapon power to be maxed out at all times. That way, your weapons are getting their full effect. And when you slot this warp core, it's minus 10% power cost. So that's 10% less power consumed by your weapons. And this also comes built-in weapons capacitor, plus 15 weapon power setting for 20 seconds. And in ISE, 20 seconds is forever. Yes, it's got a 4-minute recharge, so be careful when you activate it. Next up, Tilly's review pending modified shield. This comes from Discovery Legends Reputation. Now, the reason everybody's using this shield is this right here. Your weapon attacks cause enemy shields to receive 11.5% increased damage for 10 seconds, based on shield power. So, if you want to adjust your shield power up a little bit, you can get a little more out of this. but still 11.5%. That's quite a bit, and that is why we are using this. This is an excellent shield. I highly, highly, highly recommend you get it. Alright, aft weapons. We have a crafted omnidirectional disruptor beam array. That way I have weapons. I have full weapon coverage, 360 degrees. Not much to say about this. Next up, kinetic cutting beam. This is from the Omega reputation. This is one of the oldest reputation weapons in the game. Now the reason we're using this is because of the adapted Borg technology two-piece called Omega Weapon Amplifier. Now, I'll go over the assimilated module shortly, but let's go take a look at this. Omega Weapon Amplifier, the two-piece. You get plus 500 weapon power drain resistance and minus 500% weapon power cost. It's a 2.5% chance to trigger this, but I have noticed that this does go off quite a bit, so this is very, very well worth using. Alright, kids, next up we have the Solid Town Wave Impeller. This experimental weapon came from the T6 Rising Corvette, and unfortunately a lot of folks missed this ship. And I'm going to tell you guys right here, right now, a bit of advice that was told to me by Augie. Free is free. Grind out the ship, because you never know when you're going to need a part off of it. Same goes for any of these events. Grind out the event, because you never know when something from these events is going to get good overnight. So, I mean, the people that missed out on this, the only way they can get this now is if they get an epic token from the Phoenix box. Yeah, good luck getting that. I mean, they missed out on the best experimental weapon in game, basically. And the reason why I say this is the best experimental weapon is because this does not go off of your weapon power. This is based solely on engine power. And when we're done with the review, I'll show you my power levels. And you'll see that next to beams, my engines are set the next highest. The reason I'm doing this is so I can get the most out of this weapon. Now, where this weapon particularly shines is on torpedo boats, because torpedo boats use no weapon power. Everything is in engines or auxiliary. So with the engine power maxed out, you are getting the max benefit from this. This thing is going to hit like crazy when you're on a torpedo boat. I mean, it hits very good on a beam boat as well, but like I said, this shines on a torpedo boat. So, point I'm trying to make is, be it event or anniversary event or summer ship or winter ship, grind out the damn ship. Yeah, no, you may not use it. Yes, it may gather dust in your dry dock, but there may be a part off that ship, an experimental weapon, a console that may get good down the road. That way you have the ship and you have it and you can use it when you need to. Alright, devices. We have energy amplifier. You can get these from rank 10 in your beam R&D. Deuterium surplus. This is why I like to call this my go-go juice. Basically with this, as you can see, it's an additional 350% flight speed strength for 8 seconds, 350% turn rate strength for 8 seconds, and a bit of defense rating. Now, you can get this from your engineering R&D. However, in order to unlock this lovely console, first you have to go and do the skirmish mission in the Spectre's Arc. After that, you have to go do the Alhena System Patrol, which lies just south of Drozana Station. After you do that patrol, which is basically you defend a fuel depot from some Cardassians, you're in and out of there in 5 minutes. You pick up a few of these as rewards. After that, this gets unlocked in your engineering R&D, and you can make as many of these things as you want. In the past, it was a real pain because you had to go and do that patrol every day to get these, and you only got 5 of them. Now you can craft as many of these as you like, which was a huge boost to everybody's morale when they did that. I was so happy when they did that. Alright, next up you have your reactive armor catalyst. This is also in your engineering R&D. However, you have to go and do the Broken Circle mission first. You'll get this as a mission reward. Once you unlock it, you will then be able to craft these ad infinitum. And I use these little pills quite often. These will help you stay alive. This is a great secondary oh shit button, if you were. Next up is the Kobayashi Maru transponder. This was an event reward some time back. Basically, you call in a little version of the Kobayashi Maru. He's going to drop some random buffs for you. And after taking a predetermined amount of damage, he's going to skate town. He's going to get the hell out of there. So you'll see a lot of times during the briefing, at the about 20-second mark or so, people are going to start calling these in to get buffed up with their random buffs. You can get bonus damage. Get back here. You get bonus damage, max hull, damage resistance rating, max shield, and speed and turn from this. So this was a great freebie mission thing, and another reason why I say do the event. You never know when these things are going to come in handy. Next up, we have our Lorca's Custom Fire Controls, also otherwise known as the Lorcator. And seeing as I T6X'd this ship, this console now takes up what is known as the Lorcator slot, which is your universal slot. This is something Augie started calling it, and now everybody's calling it that, including me. Lorca's Custom Fire Controls. Oh, this console. I love this console. Alright, you get about 4% crit chance, which is very nice. You always want more crit chance. You get 7.9, about 8% weapon power setting. More power to your weapons, more boom boom you do. But this right here is why everybody uses it. That oh so nice Starship Shield penetration buff. Oh baby. Everyone knows, the faster you cut through shields, the faster you get into hull, the faster you make them go boom. This console is by far one of the most meta consoles in the game next to the DPRM. If you're not using this console, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. It's good for any build. And like I said earlier, it's part of the War Discretion, but that's just the beginning. Set bonuses. Alright, next up we have Bioneural Fusion Circuits. This is one of the older consoles in game. It's in the Lobby store. As you can see, you get Starship hull capacity, which is nice because that helps out with Tyler's duality, which I'll go over in a little bit. Get some control expertise, as well as a large amount of crit severity. Yeah, you should be using this. This is a great console. It's from the Lobby store. It costs you 200 Lobby, but if you're smart, wait till there's a sale, then get it. Why waste Lobby when you don't have to? Next up is the assimilated module from the Omega Rep. This is one of the oldest consoles in game. From it, I'm getting a bit of crit chance, I'm getting quite a bit of crit severity, and some weapon power setting, as well as damage control, and another more control expertise. But as I showed you earlier, I'm using it for the Omega Weapon Amplifier 2 set bonus. Next up is the Dynamic Power Redistributor module, the DPRM, the best damn console in the game, period. It's good. It has a wonderful clicky, but it also has some good passives too. 11.3 all damage resistance rating and 19% directed energy damage. And since this is Beam Overload, well, you tell me. But the passives are good. The clicky's better. Alright. Clicky. plus 40% bonus damage, well above 80% hull. And if you're doing an ISE run with a tank, you're staying above 8% hull. Also, plus 100 bonus damage resistance rating and 500% hull regen. There is a reason I click this when I'm transitioning from the right side over to the gateway. Once I click this, I can out-heal whatever damage the gateway tries to do to me. And you can see I'm also using it for the Alliance Weaponry 2-piece set, along with the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead, which I'll go over in just a few minutes here. Alliance Weaponry plus 33% disruptor damage for directed energy weapons. Yeah, that's nice to have. Alright, we have Domino. This one's from the Bajoran Interceptor. This was an anniversary ship. Again, some people missed this, and now they're having to wait until they get an Epic Phoenix token to get it. This is a great console for energy builds. Yes, this is as a built-in phaser damage proc, but I'm not using it for the phaser damage proc or the accuracy. Those are the passives. What I'm using it is for the clicky. The weapon damage plus haste. Haste is everything for a beam overload. Because when you activate beam overload, your firing cycle slows down. And what you're going to want to do is you want to speed that firing cycle back up. This is one of the consoles you use for that. 25% firing cycle haste for energy weapons. 25% bonus all damage. 25% recharge speed for bridge officer abilities. 100% recharge speed for torpedo weapons. So when you're clicking this, you can find you're just firing torpedoes faster than you can talk. It's great. I love it. It's a thing of beauty. Next up, here's your temporal trajectory shifter. Now this comes off of the T6 Narendra or T6 Voral support cruiser. I'm not so much using this for the passive, but I'm using it for the active, the clicky. Borrowed time. Steal weapon haste, defense, and cooldowns from the enemy. So from your foe, you are doing 578 physical damage. You are slowing their weapon firing speed by 33%, about 33%. And their ability cooldowns are slowed by 1% per second while this is up. And to you for 15 seconds of maximum, you are giving yourself weapon firing speed. My tongue stops working. Weapon firing speed hastened by 50%. Ability cooldowns hastened by 20%. That is why I'm using this. So you'll see I can usually get this up a couple of times. Giggity. I usually hit it on the first group, and then by the time I get the attack cube at the very end, this is usually up and ready to go. I can nail the attack cube with this thing. Next up is the Point Defense Bombardment Warhead. I love this thing. It's 25% projectile damage, 1% crit chance. Those are some nice, excuse me. Those are some nice passives, but it's the clicky that I'm after. You launch a Point Defense Bombardment Warhead. This little torpedo is going to fly towards the target, and it's going to be shooting out its own little micro torpedoes at the enemy. And then when the target is reached, yeah, this thing blows up and deals a significant amount of kinetic damage. So yeah, this is wonderful. This comes off of the NX refit for those wondering. And of course your tactical vulnerability locators from your fleet spire, as well as the exploiter, which I showed earlier, talked about earlier. Yeah, you need these. Yeah, they cost a little bit, but you know, you can easily grind these out within a week. All right, let's take a look at some. Let's take a look at the skill tree real quick, as well as my specializations. This is a skill tree that Augie uses. This is a great general purpose skill tree. You can do just about anything with this. Science, tanking, deeps, anything. For specialization, I'm using Intel and Temporal. And Temporal because of the Entropic Writer. These are, and you absolutely need to have intelligence officer as your primary because of the space flanking. If you're not using this as your primary, you are losing out on a significant amount of DPS. Onward to traits. Alright, first up we have the adaptive offense. As you can see, gain about 3% crit chance on when critically striking. Not just about 1% crit chance becomes 3% crit severity. Now, when you're buying this, you need to be careful. There's two versions of this. There's a ground one and a space one. Don't do what I did, thinking, oh look, I found one for cheap. Wrong. It's the ground one. Yeah, this one, the space one, costs a little bit more, guys. Just pay attention. Next up, superior beam training. Everybody gets your standard beam training, flat 5% off the bat, out of the box. If you visit the K-13 fleet holding, you can purchase the upgrade to superior. EPS overload. This is the go down fighting for engineers, in my opinion. Your weapons gain an additional effect for 30 seconds based on which power level is highest at the time of activation. This works off of EPS power transfer 3. If your weapons are the highest, you get plus 2% crit chance. If your shields are the highest, minus 20% weapon power cost. If engines are highest, plus 20 armor pen. Or if aux is highest, plus 20% crit severity. This works very, very well in conjunction with a duty officer I'm using, as well as starship trait I'm using. And I'm going to show those off in a little bit. Self-modulating fire. This gives shield pen. Enough said. Unconventional systems. I'm using this to shave a few seconds off of the recharge of my universal consoles. Terran targeting. 15% crit severity. I don't think I need to explain that one. Context is for kings. If you took damage, you get 3% damage resistance. If you didn't take damage, you get 1% bonus all damage. Intel Agent Attaché. This is for Captain ability cooldown on weapon critical strike. And believe me, I do plenty of critical striking with my weapons. Fleet Coordinator. This isn't, don't take rocket science to figure out this one. 2% bonus all damage per team member. You're on a team of 5. That's an extra 10% bonus all damage. Formula effect. This is the new kid on the block. This is a game changer. This is what everybody's using and switching over from aux to bat to use. This one trait frees up 2 bridge officer slots and 3 duty officer slots. So yeah, get this, a Lobby store, 200 Lobby. Next up, starship traits. We have emergency weapon cycle. This comes off of the Arbiter, the Morrigu, or the Karak. Plus 50% weapon power cost for 30 seconds and firing cycle haste. Preferential targeting. This comes off of the NX refit. After using beam fire at will or cannon scatter volley, 100% damage to beam overload. Super weapon ingenuity. This comes off of the Adolith Dreadnought. This is what extends beam overload by 5 seconds, so this makes beam overload stay up pretty much all the time. Downside of this one, and this has been a craw in the jaw of the Deep GS community for the longest time. This is locked behind a Lobby ship. The Adolith Dreadnought is a Lobby ship. It's also on the exchange. Yeah, that needs to be changed. I mean, the one for a cannon scatter volley, they give it away. They give it away all kinds of times over. You got it for free from the Klingon recruit event with the Klingon recruit ship. And fire at will. It's a sea store ship. Now, beam overload, like I said, this is stuck behind a lockbox ship. There's also another one, cannon rapid fire. That comes from the Jemadar strike ship. That is a promo ship. It's locked behind a promo or R&D box. Yeah, that's just that. Anyway, moving on. Terran Goodbye. This is from the Mirror warship. My good friend Augie and fellow content creator He was so kind as to gift me this ship. We're using this for the 5% crit chance for every defeated foe. This is one of the meta beam overload traits. If you don't have the mirror warship, I highly recommend you get it. You can get it from your if you haven't completed your event campaign yet, you can get it there. Or if you have this and you don't have the DPRM, you can get the Atlas from the event campaign, because the only way to get DPRM anymore is from the Atlas prototype Dreadnought, and the only way you're getting a hold of that is if you buy it from someone via private channels, because that ship is going for $1 billion plus. Now, I was lucky. I got my DPRM back before the walls came down. I got it out of a box. KDF had it made. They can get it out of a box on the exchange for $2-3 million. Now, after they dropped the faction walls, you either pay $1 billion plus EC for it, or you can get it from the your event campaign, or if you're lucky enough to open a T6 Infinity box, you can get it that way. So, yeah, there's that. Onboard lithium recrystallizer. This one's a little bit of a sleeper trait. This is great for engineers. Using an engineering ability adds power to subsystem with least bonus damage for maxed subsystems. So basically, I have a duty officer as well as a captain ability called Emergency Power Transfer 3. Now when I punch that, all my power levels jump up. So whatever is the max, I get the max bonus from this. And also with the duty officer, it has a chance to spike power levels to max. So I'm getting all kinds of benefits from this trait. Last, certainly not least, we have Strike from Shadows. This one comes from the Imchala Bird of Prey or the Shran Light Escort. These are sea source ships, easy to get, and this is a great trait from them. You're getting decreases threat generation by 60%. That's wonderful. That means the enemy is less likely to shoot at you while you're trying to kill them. 5% crit chance and 5% bonus all damage. This is a lovely trait. This procs when damaging a foe that doesn't have you targeted. So there is a chance that you'll be shooting at a target that you are not shooting. Alright, let's cover our space reputation traits. First up, Tyler's Duality from your Discovery Legends. 4.6% crit chance based on hull capacity, with a maximum possible of 7.5% at 200,000 hull. So the higher the hull, the better the odds with this trait. Or reputation trait, rather. Alright, we have your Advanced Targeting Systems. This is crit severity. This comes from the Dyson rep. From the Temporal rep, you have controlled countermeasures. You have bonus energy weapon damage as well as projectile damage against controlled targets. And if you're running preset teams, then your odds are you have a controller, so there you go. Precision, this is from the new Romulus rep, 5% crit chance, because everybody needs more crit chance. You have your Magnified Firepower, this comes from the Gamma rep. This is 6% bonus weapon damage. Alright, so now we're done with that, let's go ahead and take a look at our duty officers. Duty officers, the unsung heroes of any build. First up, we have my security officer 2447. On use of tactical bridge officer abilities, 15% chance, set power levels to maximum for 5 seconds. Now this procs quite often. I've watched my power levels go from regular to maximum. So whenever you're watching the video and you're watching the run that's coming up, you see my power levels spike. All my power levels spike to maximum. This duty officer's gone to work. Alright, next up we have my two Suliban energy weapon officers. Chance for beam overload to cause all attacks against the target to gain 35% shield pen. There's that delicious shield pen again. Like I said, the faster you get through shields, the more you're hitting hull, and the faster your enemy goes dead. They go boom, they die, they splat, they scatter. Next up is my projectile weapons officer Dex. Chance for stacking crit chance buff on firing projectiles. This procs quite often as well. You have my Tholian Space Warfare Specialist. Increased damage against Borg, because why not? And then you have your Emergency Con hologram. Recharges evasive maneuvers when using emergency powered engines is activated. So let me show this off. I'm getting ready to scoot. I'm getting ready to move. I'm going to hit my evasive maneuver. Moving, 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 moving. Alright. It's in cooldown. Let's hit emergency powered engines. Looky there. Evasive maneuver instantly recharged. And up again to be used. I love that DOFF. That DOFF is available in the Phoenix Pack store. I highly recommend you get that. Especially if you're using a ship that's hard to get around. You definitely want to use emergency powered engines and evasive maneuvers, as well as the lithium burn. Deuterium burn. Good lord. These are your friends. These are going to get you across that ISE map lickety-split. Alright, last but certainly not least, let's go ahead and take a look at your bridge officer abilities. Alright, of course we have the main heavy hitter of this build, Beam Overload 3. Focused Assault. For the next 20 seconds, allies attacking the target gain plus 10% bonus damage for 3 seconds, plus 10 accuracy rating for 3 seconds. Reduces recharge time of this copy of Focused Assault by 50% if target dies while active. Next up, you have Distributed Targeting. This helps spread around your Beam Overload attack. Human-side lace weaponry, because who doesn't like radiation explosions when you fire your torpedoes? Cannon Scatter Volley. This helps to proc preferential targeting, as well as the Terran Task Force dual heavy cannons. Torch Spread 3 gets those dark matter quantum torpedoes spread out all over the place and hitting their targets, spreading out that dark matter dissolution everywhere. And Attack Pattern Beta 3 for the debuff. Again, emergency powered engines. I just explained why I'm using that. Engineering Team for a bit of hull heal. Emit Unstable Warp Bubble. This is a proc for unconventional systems, believe it or not. This is one of 2 engineering abilities, the other one being Eject Warp Plasma. As you see, this one has a negative 20% all damage resistance rating on the target, as well as a minus 39.4% flight speed debuff for the target. You'll see me using these on the spheres. If you watch me on the left side during the run, as the spheres are pulled into the transformer, I'll pop this off. That's going to slow them down, reduce their damage resistance rating, and we're going to blow them to Kingdom Come. They're going to wish they never popped in. And emergency powered weapons. This is the emergency weapon style. My tongue stops working again. Emergency weapon cycle proc. Alright, next up we have Tractor Beam. This is a unconventional systems proc. That is the one reason I am using it. And then Very Cold in Space, last but certainly not least. You'll see this pop up. It's going to spread a big cold field in space. It's basically negative flight speed, and as well as cold damage, as well as a little bit of negative flight friction. Alright, that about does it for the build. Let's do a quick run around of the ship. Yeah, I love this ship. It is gorgeous. God, it's beautiful. This is the best looking D7 in the game, if you ask me. Alright. Stay tuned for the ISE that's coming up next, and I'll catch you on the flip side for the Parse Explanation. Okay, let's take a look at that parse. I am, of course, at James Bryce. And I'd like to give a special shout out to our tank on the run, Mikey here. He's a hell of a tank. As you can see, great tanking stats, great tanking by him. 94% total damage in, 92% tax in. And if you guys aren't already checking him out on YouTube, you guys got to do it. I'll be putting the link to his channel in the description. Also, special shout out to Yegderheim here, as well as my good friend Vesti. Everyone calls him Mud. And another one of my good friends at Lord Ice. We were working on tweaking his torpedo boat earlier before the run, and as you can see, it paid off. His DPS jumped up about 30k. So here's mine. 405.36 on a beam overload disruptor build. Yeah, that is great. Now, I did kind of a dumb earlier. I did a run earlier. I parsed it at 461, and I didn't record it. Yeah, I did a stupid. I should have recorded it because I would have loved to have used that one. But, hey, 405 ain't nothing to sneeze at either. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, max one hit. 454, 766. And, like I said in the build review, there it is. Disruptor wide angle dual heavy beam bank overload 3. Biggest hitter. Here is the Terran Task Force. They did okay for themselves. Of course, the net, like I said, spiral wave disruptors, second best disruptor beam you could have. That was the second biggest hit. Here is my hit rate. I hit my targets 100% of the time. Chemosite-less weaponry. That did 23k. Damn. That's great. Dark matter quantum torpedo, 20k. Kinetic cutting beam, 19k. Oop, dark matter lace quantum torpedo salvo 1. I took someone's concentrated firepower charge. Which that happens. If there's a torp built in the run, you have the chance of stealing their concentrated firepower. Disruptor array. This is the Omni. That did some fairly good. That did quite a bit of DPS there. Got a nice one hit too. My distributed targeting. That did 25k. And see, there's someone's concentrated firepower 3 charge I stole. Dark matter dissolution. This is from the dark matter quantum. Here's my another distributed targeting for kinetic. Did 18k on a torpedo. That was nice. Point defense bombardment ward I talked about. That guy did 20k. Nice. And here's the Soliton wave impeller, the experimental weapon I talked about earlier. 138k max one hit. That is why this is such a devastating experimental weapon. I highly recommend you get this one. This number would look even better on a torpedo boat, like I said, because this runs off of engine power, and on a torpedo boat, engine power is maxed out. Cryonic turbulence. This is from the Very Cold in Space. This represented itself rather well. 30k one hit from this. Here's the. This is a reputation ability. I use this on the tac cube at the very end. Yeah, so you can see this was a successful build. This did exactly what I wanted it to do. It went in, it ripped the ever-loving shit out of the enemy, and it left. This is a great build, solid build, and I recommend it for anyone looking to go into a beam overload build for a engineer. But, you know, I would love to hear you guys' experience with this build. So please feel free to discuss it in the comments section below. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know if you liked the build. I'd love to know if you hated the build. I got thick skin. I can take it. And like I said, I'd love to hear your experience with this build. So, this has been Pirate Scum Gaming. I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember, Don't go by the book. Think like a pirate. And I'll catch you next time.
Like all Starfleet, you talk and you talk, but you have no gramba.